What's up, YouTube? What's up, America? What's up, internet and everything else? I just felt like making a video. Lately, I've been having thoughts and ideas and wanting to make videos. So the only things that I can process and think about and plan for and try to solve is ones that are presented to me honestly. For example, if a person goes to a psychologist or a doctor and they don't tell the doctor or the psychologist the truth about what they're experiencing or about what they did to get to what they're experiencing, the doctor isn't going to be able to prescribe them or diagnose them properly or help them, in my opinion. They might be able to lead them in the right direction, but it becomes more of chances are they're being used by the patient, and it's actually enabling, like co-enabling or something like that. And so I noticed that there was a spike in hate crime towards Asians or Asian communities, or however it may be. I don't know. Now, and this is where I can excuse the music in the background. This is where I can only speak on something that is presented to me honestly and truthfully. So I can only hope and pray, that, the media, I belched, that the media would say, there's a spike in Asian and hate crime and violence, when in reality it was a spike in hate crime on white or hate crime on black, and they want to cut, I can only hope and pray that the truth gets presented to me, and everyone else in this country, because this is where we live, and we have to some degree protect ourselves, and in a way of protecting our resources and protecting our what we have, and more in a form of prudency, not as act out violently in self-defense. So that being said, that's sad. That's really, if that's true, that's really, really sad. That because you have to, first things first, you have to look at the Asian culture for what it really is. It is very honorable. It is very disciplined. And even though it has its it has its issues, just like every culture does, it is very refined. And look at it way back to the Chinese, as far as my understanding goes, invented gunpowder. I mean, that kind of stuff just doesn't, there's a lot of significant things in history that just because a people are not Christian doesn't mean they're not innocent, or however that's put. Just because God could have had a people. Jesus to different cultures could be the samurai, Pancho Villa, Don Quixote. I can't really say one for Germany because it says a harsh. Chinese, Shaolin, or Attila the Hun, whoever maybe their hero or their someone who led their struggle. Now, obviously, Jesus was a perfect sacrifice. Yeshua, whatever you want to call the seed, the blood, the Son of God, which could be the deliverer before the end of times. It is deep. It's not just a simple, English written story in the Bible. It goes based on my understanding, it goes back very, very, very far. And it's not just as simple as one culture, one bloodline type of thing. So you have to look at that the Asian culture is very, they're like the art of war, tons of art. And anyways, so their attempt on Pearl Harbor was probably, the Japanese attempt was their best shot at fighting. And it's like David shot at Goliath. Except in this instance, Goliath was in God's favor because it wasn't the same story. But that doesn't give this President Truman or whoever it was, that not only, if my historical studies are correct, not only did he send troops into D-Day, be it specifically the beaches of Normandy, against many advisors' direction, because if they knew he was advised by many people, from what I understand, to attack the other side of the country, the other side of the continent. It would be much easier and much less casualties, and they could finish the war the same way. Now, for whatever reason, he decided to go all the way around and come in on Normandy, where he was told that he was going to get gunned down. I think the reason is because he knew that the war had already been fought by Russia and Germany and whoever else, in the Europe, and he needed a body count. He needed some kill count to show that we sacrificed something and we didn't just pull up and lose a few guys, rest in peace. No fucking wasting blood. No disrespect to any life ever lost in a war. But from his point of view, not to mention he dropped A-bombs on Japan. I don't see any reason why you should kill that many innocent women and children. And just with the return of 9/11 and the way that the pictures look, with the smoke clouds going through the street and how many innocent people were killed at 9/11, and it was one after another, and it was an unexplainable bomb that no one could understand. And Japan, I mean, imagine being in Nagasaki or Hiroshima, whatever the two cities were. No disrespect, rest in peace to all those people. So, also you have to look at the Philippines and China and Vietnam and all these different Asian cultures, which have a ton of similarities and a ton of warrior-focused cultural aspects and precision and deliverance of a good product. Because even though China has been spat on for so long for their productivity, their level, their quality of product has grown so much since the 90s. And the reason I knew this, or the reason I noticed this, was because, obviously, thank God, but because the Japanese, my dad explained the Japanese did the same thing. When the Japanese first started, a lot of their producing stuff for other countries, their quality slowly grew and increased. And when me and my friends first started playing with airsoft guns, the Chinese airsoft guns were terrible, but they were so cheap. And then over the course of 5 or 10 years, the Chinese guns stayed cheap, but they increased slight in price, and their quality started to almost match that of the Japanese, using as many possible cheaper parts as possible. Now, this created some sort of, process of elimination. Let's make the cheapest thing possible before eventually, something we have to parts, instead of saying, hey, let's make it as strong as possible at first and then ride it out, let's make it as cheap as possible and blah, blah, blah. But it shows good intention. It shows that their goal was to provide us as best a service possible at a cheap price. And that's why I respect China but I also appreciate and thank God for them, because I feel like their intention is to provide and not to attack. And that speaks volumes. Now, imagine coming to America United States of America, where we've already had internment camps. I mean, let's get some of the nasty words out of the way. Chinks, Japs, Gooks, Charlies. I mean, there's been some nothing like that of the African American culture, but some very, very harsh and slaughter, hurtful things and racist things. And so when you carry that as a person in your daily life, from my understanding, if you're not, like a natural born citizen or someone who's more familiar with the American culture, you carry some sort of, like, not necessarily cursing, but a negativity. It's like a self-defense. And that, I would rather a person carry like a cursing mentality and a negative mentality rather than, excuse me, Jesus, I burped, rather than convey it into contamination of a food product or violence, the physical world. I would rather someone be pissed off and do the right thing, make food properly, wash their hands, shower and bathe, and not steal and all that kind of stuff, than be fake happy and crap in my food and rip me off and sell me a car that's going to break on purpose. So that being said, with the recent spike of whatever it is that I hope the media is portraying truthfully, spiking, because that's what I see it as. If you don't appreciate the way a place does business, don't go there. Don't go there. Even if you think they are doing something wrong, don't go there. And if it's that big of a deal, report it. Chances are they're whoever it is, white, black, Asian, I have a ton of faith in the African American community when it comes to business and service, so that speaks for itself. But whoever this establishment is that you feel is wronging you, or this type of people is thinking bad about you, or cursing you, or wishing bad on you, or whatever it is, if you can avoid it, avoid it. God will make a way for their business to be taken, or their leaders to be alerted, because if it's a chain, chances are they don't want their money being lost by poor service, or if it's their own private place of business, then they're paying taxes and they're under the state. And there's people of all races and ethnicities in the government, and I pray for it to become even more mixed, not for the aspect of New World Order, not in any sort, but just for our country to have as many perspectives on justice and liberty and pursuit of happiness and honesty and all that, poverty and struggle as possible, without racism and biased opinions. So if massage parlors and different places and Asian hate crime and so what, you don't like the way they make you feel? They didn't give you a good deal. They wouldn't let you get a massage. They wouldn't they didn't speak to you properly who cares? Then don't go there. And if you think the food is good, then go there and deal with it. Swallow your pride, be humbled, turn the other cheek, and buy. And if you really think it's not a good product, or if it's this, that, or whatever it is, they shouldn't be having business there, then go to the state. You don't necessarily have to call the police and be, a snitch right off the bat or whatever. That's more for crazy people, like people shooting up places. That's a good job for the police, because they're trained soldiers who signed up for that, to be a police and trained guards or whatever, and especially people who go psychotic in public. That's a good reason to call the police, because police are armed and trained to deal with psychotically, violently people. And if you're not carrying a weapon or you're not trained in combat, you probably shouldn't be dealing. You might lose the fight, and the police are trained to win the fight. And that's why there's other agencies to deal with business and money and civil suits and all this stuff that you don't necessarily need someone who's trained in combat to come in and deal with. And obviously, police can be well-rounded, well-trained individuals, and that would be as best as possible. But you can't pay enough to have a job that does everything. That's the classic one-parent household and blah blah blah. And the doctors and we all know how that goes. Every part of the body has its purpose, and you know, the baby is kind of the easy, you know, the one with the less work and the less, because that's who we're protecting. And we're guarding our butts, and if you're an able-minded person, you have a dignified, subjected purpose, and it's not the butthole of the body, the butt cheeks of the body, you know, because that's the sign we're still on Earth. But anyways, all that being said, when is the last time you saw an Asian, whatever ethnicity, minded individual come out and just start shooting up people because chances are, if there are some type of Asian person, their culture could have been wronged by America in the past, whether it's the English or whatever you follow it back to, white people, or even today's mixed United States population. There's probably been some type of wrongdoing, and Asians are, from my experience, and I don't want to use that as such a general term, but they're very level-headed and forgiving people, and they're usually focused on the next thing to do, not so much wronging you. Obviously, every culture has their hustle, every culture has their gypsy, but whatever. That being said, when's the last time you saw an Asian, passionately racist Asian come out and shoot up a bunch of, you know, come out guns blazing and shoot up a Sportsman's Warehouse or a Cabela's? Never. Or a Spencer's or a whatever these. I'm trying to think of a shop that I don't know how this goes about, but when every time that I've ever seen Asian people successful, they've been doing cool things, cool cars, cool phones, cool weapons, cool watches, cool. That's why I tried my hardest, and we should, I think, just to be appreciative and forgiving and understanding that there's been a lot of pain and suffering in the past that gets kind of like swept under the rug. And I think in no way, means, or form is violence a way to contest any sort of you know, like a bias or a grudge. It should be approached with understanding and respect. And if it can't be solved with that, then then go about your way. And if you have no other way to go, then keep on trying to do the right thing. And shooting up a store is not that. You've got food, you've got water on every corner, you've got a house, you've got enough money for assault rifles. You don't have to go shoot up anybody for that reason. You don't. The last story that I heard that caught my ear about some type of shooting was one that happened in somewhere in the United States, probably in the East Coast or the South or somewhere in the Midwest with a lot more time under its belt. And it was between the police and a white resident of the county, and the white resident went out to the fireworks stand where they had guns and fireworks. Now, I'm pretty sure, and he was with his best friend, and now they went and robbed the fireworks and stole the guns too. And when the police showed up, it was one specific officer, and they murdered the officer or fought him or whatever. And I'm pretty sure what happened was all the people were involved. This is my take on it, in my opinion. All the people involved were devil worshippers, okay? probably a big population in the county or wherever. It was not like a kosher situation. It was things are going south for everybody, no matter your color, affiliation or whatever, and except for maybe the slaves of the area, because they didn't even have a choice. But so anyways, they ended up murdering the officer. Rest in peace. They went to prison. The guy went to prison for life, and he ended up being one of those guys who broke out of prison with that other guy who went to a foreign prison and escaping. Bob, I don't know if he ended up getting killed or brought back to prison or what. I don't think he's still free. But that caught my ear, because it's like, wait a second, why did this cop just get slaughtered? Excuse me, this police officer. Because most of the time, police officers have good intentions and goodwill. And that's the sad thing, when someone with good intentions and goodwill gets killed. But I'm pretty sure that everyone involved was worshiping the devil. And a lot of times what happens, based on my studies, based on my understanding, is when people get too involved worshiping the devil, because it's easy to do, because the devil was closer to God than any of us probably will ever know as our time on earth, because he was originally from the heavenly host, right? So he was one of the greatest angels of all, from what I was taught, and he also was the angel of light, so he's the greatest deceiver of all. So he knows the heavenly wows and wonders that he still has power under his control. And if you don't involve Christ, if you don't involve Yeshua, if you don't involve the blood, the fact that we're wrong and that we need God, and that we can't be like him, that we aren't his equal, however, that we're less, if you don't have that, usually murder comes about. Now, what I'm pretty sure what happens is the devil starts talking to all these people, because that's usually what devil worship involves. It involves familiar spirits, where the devil's talking to multiple people at the same time, be it from demons or spirits or whatever. And then the reason these people get what they, well, at least from my perspective and understanding, because I don't practice devil worship, they get what they're asking for at a relatively high rate of speed, faster than prayer to Jesus Christ or to God, Yeshua. And I don't want to use God's name. I don't want to be using Jesus' name in vain, praying to God. And because the devil hears the prayers, and he communicates through spirits of jealousy, violence, murder, maybe not so much violence, murder, theft, different spirits, old spirits and new spirits, whatever it is, prostitutes, it's bad. And then people get what they were praying for the devil. And that's how so if you get in these circles of 2 or 3 or more devil worshipers, where they all start worshiping murder and praying on it, and unfortunately sometimes the way I see it on these documentaries and these videos, the one who gets the murder is the one who is trying to do the best thing the whole time. But he worshiped the devil. He subdued. He didn't stay true to Christ. I don't want to say he cursed God, but at one point, that's why he drew the shortest stick. Now, it could have been his final deliverance to God, to heaven. He could have, that for him, that could have been his family's scariest, whatever, his county, for him. But he went, hopefully he was a Christian, he went to heaven, he went, in his picture, it looks like he's turning the other cheek, so I think it was a joke. It was like the grass is truly greener finally. But on earth, it's like he's the one who lost. He's the one who got murdered and run over. And for all those other guys, that was probably you can tell there was some shenanigans going on. For all I know, that the guns that they were going on to steal maybe were stolen from the citizens. And that's why they were so butthurt to go get them back. And it ended up being a murder or a war, and I'm guessing the devil was involved, because I don't think they would have got that far into it without being arrested or being caught or stopped to the point they murdered someone or killed someone in a fight, because without that much of a backstory on it. So that being said, that was the last time violence caught my ear. Like, why are all these people fighting out in the sticks over fireworks and guns and killing each other and all that kind of, that's some, that's confusing. There's no natives, there is no, African Americans or Hispanics, or that was some, and maybe some spirits, maybe some old angry spirits, right? So, and I don't even know about that. That's all in God's hands. But that I want to solve. But in terms of attacking a ethnic community for being in America and doing their best to provide to our economy, violence? Come on, there should be no violence. You shouldn't even be slamming their door. So respect property, respect business laws. If it's that big of a deal, report it. Put it on your jacket. Report it to the local government agency or the state business, something. Don't make it into a violence murder. No. We need to value what we have. We need to take care of what we have as a country. We need to show appreciation and thanks to the people that were sacrificed in the past, whether it was slaves, soldiers, natives, whatever. We need to appreciate and value and cherish what's still here, and not give in to manipulation and addiction. Because obviously, we need to go for leaders and law enforcement and medical staffs from all ethnicities and all agencies that show good intention, and we get the blessing as a country of having a mixed population and not having to be in the situation of being a new world order. Because if we were still having the mission of conquering every country and having our flag over every different place, that is new world order. Now, if we went to, but that's why God gave us our laws. Do not trespass, do not murder, do not steal. And that's where so many people from the past, so many world leaders, so many conquerors, and so many, huge people in history have failed. They trespassed, they crossed boundary lines, they murdered, they stole. And then from that point on, you pretty much failed. But you're going against God's laws. No matter how grandiose your ride on earth comes, God's laws will come into effect. We've seen the greatest people humbled. We've seen the smallest people uplifted. That being said, that's my opinion. I want a big shout out to all the medical, firefighting, law enforcement, military, federal agencies. Please continue to do the right thing. Please do not purposely create accidents or confusing things for people. Please be confident. Thank you for being a service. Thank you for protecting our country. Thank you for protecting our morals and our mentalities. Thank you for all the working class people. Thank you for all the people who get up, put their nose to the grindstone for their families, and provide for their and be selfless. Thank you for all the people who hide their pain and hide their struggle, even and don't steal and don't hurt other people, even though they have every opportunity to do it, no matter how many times they've stepped on. Thank you for being the shadow, for being the person and the person. Thank you for being the strength, the support of our nation. And to all the people who are still choosing to manipulate and steal and create fear in an evil way, every culture deals with that. There's no history that there's no pain from your past that gives you the excuse to do that type of stuff to other people. Because I have met and been around people who have been through some of the nastiest and grimiest struggles from countries and places no one would want to be, and the lessons they learned was don't step on other people. If you have to fight someone, you got to fight someone. You got to retreat, you got to retreat. You got to yell, maybe you got to yell. But to step on someone else behind their back, via their food or their property or bombing their children or whatever, or some type of cowardly act of violence. That's what we don't need to avoid. Our country will build. You don't have to look for problems. The problems will come, and we'll deal with them as they come, and it'll make us stronger and more protected. And the thing about problems is that they make you disciplined, and the thing about discipline is it makes you happy, and that's why you can create a child that's disciplined, that is happy, because when you discipline a child, it eventually arrives at its intended goal. And that is not molestation, that is not theft, that is not rape, that is not hopefully not cursing, and cursing happens sometimes. Cursing, swearing words and thoughts, it happens sometimes, but you try your best to be honest and good. So I hope everyone has a good night. Thank the whole country and the whole world for being there. Say a prayer for all the people who are still being hurt in the world, and that it continues to come out of our country, because hey, we can build cool things, we can build good stuff, we can build good cars, we can build, and that's a whole nother talk, which I'm going to start in a second since I'm on a roll. But we can produce good. It's not weakness, it's not utopia. The bad will weed itself out, and we don't have to search for it. We don't have to purposely create it. That's a private activity. Video games, drugs at home in a safe environment, pornography if you're of age, and if you're alone, if it's not, whatever. I don't endorse pornography and masturbation, because sometimes pornography might be exciting to watch with a partner, or before you have sex with your partner, if your partner's aware of it. But I don't endorse masturbation, because it can produce mental illness. But even that is a private activity. If you create that, if that's kept private, in all honesty, that's someone's choice. That's your own personal. That's the one thing that the Bible talks about sin, is that I don't want to lead people in the wrong direction, but it says I think it says something like a wise person masters sin, and it also says, don't let your sin spread to your brother over your gate to your brother's house. So it's like, I choose to smoke weed, I choose to drink alcohol at night, I choose to play video games that are violent sometimes, but I do it in a way that is private, as best I can with what I'm provided for. If I feel like there's too many kids around, or there's too many cars, or whatever, we're in an area that I'm smoking, I know it's not safe, and never drinking drinking, obviously, I won't, because sobriety will be more fun, and God is asking you to care for. It's a deep conviction. You have to really consider it, and it has to do with sin and mastering and living with sin on earth, because we can't be perfect. There can't be utopia right now. There can't be a sinless world. That's the NWO. That's heaven. And heaven, from my understanding, from my opinion, is so perfect. At certain times, there's not a single other human being. Everyone likes to be alone. Everyone likes their privacy. Sometimes heaven, in my opinion, is so perfect. You're entirely alone in your own house. No poop, no farts, no problems. And your perfect girlfriend or family is on their way over, but you have 2 days, and you can do whatever you want, get as high as you want, get as drunk as you want. You're not, it's that perfect fun time. And then other times, maybe all your friends and family are there. Maybe your enemies are there. Maybe heaven is something we can't even really, from my opinion, comprehend. So we can't chase that. We can't expect to create it. If God allows us to be happy, then we thank Him for it. We appreciate it. We worship God for it. And it's that. We can't try to create it with our own hands. It's the same with 666, the mark of the beast. If it happens, then you acknowledge it as a spiritual aspect. And you don't worship it. You move past it. You can give the glory to God. It was His creation. But if you try to create it on your own and make, write it on the wall and tattoo it or whatever and put it everywhere, it's not authentic, just like God. So anyways, everyone have a good weekend. Everyone have a good life. Everyone have good ideas, good inspirations. Be strong, be disciplined, speak your mind, stick up for yourself. Don't be violent, be honest, be humble, and let's keep trying to be a good nation for the small and big.